Welcome to the Happy Life Challenge. 7 days of happy? Can you believe it? 7 happy hacks that will help you develop your happy habit. Imagine a habit of being happy.
Born to be happy, born to be happy, born to be happy, born to be happy.
What are you looking at? Seriously, what are you looking at? That's a great question, and it's challenge number 2 of our Happy Life Challenge series. 7 days of happy, 7 happy hacks that will get you on the path of developing a happy habit. Our first challenge, we asked you the question, do you want to be happy? And you're back, so I guess that means that you do want to be happy. And I'm really not surprised. We all want to be happy. I mean, even when you come out of the womb, when you're a baby wants nothing more than to be happy. I mean, the moment the baby comes out of the womb and it's cold, he starts crying. When his diaper is full, he starts crying. When he's hungry, he starts crying. Why? Because he's unhappy and he wants to be happy and someone needs to help him get happy. So even as a newborn, we want to be happy. And then we get older and we grow up, we still want to be happy. My dad always used to say this to me. He says, you wouldn't be happy unless you're mad. You wouldn't be happy unless you were sad. Because whenever I would freak out or something, he'd say, well, you wouldn't be happy unless you're sad. And there's some people that appear to be happy only when they're sad. But truth is, even those people, when we're hungry, what's the first thing we want to do? We go to the pantry, we go to the refrigerator, we go to the restaurant because we're not happy. We're hungry. When we're tired, what do we want to do? We want to go to sleep. And if we go to the pantry and the food's not there, we get frustrated. If we're hungry and we go to the drive-thru of a fast food and it takes too long, what happens? We get a little angry because we're not happy in our present situation. We want to fill that need. We just want to be happy. We take care of ourselves. When we're in need, we immediately look for a way to solve that need. So, of course, you want to be happy. But being happy takes some work. And that's why we're having a Happy Life Challenge. Because it takes a little bit of work. The last episode, we talked about how you can't have salt water and fresh water in the same spring. In the same way, you can't have vengeance and forgiveness at the same time. And so if our body is full of, if we're dreadful or fearful, we can't be hopeful at the same time. If we're disrespectful, if we're full of disrespect, we're not going to be full of thanks. We're not going to be grateful. You can't be full of harm and delight at the same time. You can't be harmful and delightful at the same time. So what is it that you are working on to remove from your life so that you can add some happy in its place? What pain are you trying to remove so that you can add some peace in its place? Instead of being painful, you can be peaceful instead. So we all basically want to be happy. But did you know that the world wants you to be happy too? And it makes sense because the world is full of people who all are struggling to become happy. But the world wants you to be happy. It's true. 10 years ago, the United Nations passed a resolution and they started a thing called the International Day of, you guessed it, happiness. So even the world wants you to be happy. And if that's not enough, God wants you to be happy. And I'll prove it. In the Bible, there is a passage, there's a sentence in the Bible, there's a couple sentences in the Bible, and it says this, you who seek God, live a happy life, and then it has an exclamation point. And that's not just in the Bible, that is in the smack dab middle of the Bible. Wherever you find a Bible, if you're at a hotel room, on your coffee table, if you open up the Bible just pop it open to the middle, you're going to find the book of Psalms. And right there in the middle of the book of Psalms, in chapter 105, if you go down to the number 3 right there, it'll tell you this. It'll say, or something along those lines. It all depends upon which translation that you get, but they're all saying the same thing. They just word it differently. It says, you who seek God, live a happy life. So if as a baby you wanted to be happy, if as whatever age you are now, you want to be happy, you want to take care of your needs, you want to find peace, if the United Nations, the world wants you to be happy, and by the way, we're all going to celebrate that day together on March 20th. We're going to culminate the 7 days of happy with the International Day of Happiness, and we're going to celebrate with the world. I just think this is so cool. We're having a happy week. But if the world wants you to be happy, and even God wants you to be happy, then let's be happy. Not just pursue happy, not chase happy, not try to get happy, but be happy, a state of being. That's what happens when you develop a happy habit. You enter a state of being happy, not just trying to find it. So challenge number 2, what are you looking at? That's the challenge. What are you looking at? And this challenge is actually, it's as simple as the first challenge. Do you want to be happy? It's a question we have to ask. And then we have to do a little bit more work to figure out what parts of our life, what awful parts of our life we want to replace with beautiful. But with what are you looking at? It's the same thing. This is important to ask that question, because whatever you focus on the most becomes the largest in your life. Think about it. If you're focusing on your pain, you're focusing on your problems, then pretty soon that's all you can see is your pain and your problems. Happiness is something that we can all achieve and we can all become, because it isn't dependent upon how life treats us. It depends upon our perception, what we do with that, what we do with the awful. Can we take what was awful and turn it into something delightful? So what you're looking at is very important. If you go back to the Bible and that verse, you who seek God, live a happy life. If you read the next couple verses, it says this, and it goes right along with, what are you looking at? It says, keep your eyes open for God, watch for his works. So keep your eyes open for God, watch for his works. Be alert for signs of his presence. Remember the world of wonders he has made. So you got keep your eyes open and watch. Be alert and remember. Look, listen, remember. What are you looking at? Because whatever you're looking at is what's going to take over prominence in your life, what you continue to focus on. So here's how simple challenge 2 is. If what you're looking at isn't creating happiness, isn't taking you to a state of happy, a being of happy, then look at something else. It's that simple. In the first challenge, we talked about how with the internet out there, there's never been more information and more inspiration available to us as easy as it is. There's always been inspiration and information available, but now we can get it like never before. I mean, you just find a computer, begin to search. And so if we're struggling with some of these things that we talked about last episode, all we have to do, find videos on that, find books on that, find TED Talks on that, podcasts on that, find music, find movies that deal with helping you with that issue. But flip that now a little bit more. If what you're watching is causing anxiety, is causing anger, is causing discouragement, is causing sadness, then stop looking at it. There's an old show on TV when I was growing up called Hee Haw. My dad loved it. And it was a show, it was like a Saturday Night Live before there was Saturday Night Live. And they had all these skits. And one of the skit was, there was a doctor there, and a person always came up to the doctor and said, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." He'd move his arm. He'd say, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." And the doc would just look at him and say, "Then don't do that." And that was that was it. And then you had to pay the doc and walk out. But if what we're looking at, if what we're listening to, if what we are thinking about, what we are remembering is not taking us to a habit of happy, if it's not taking us to a being of being content, of being peaceful, of being delightful, of being beautiful, of being grateful and hopeful and all these other full of love and forgiveness. And if what we're looking at, if what we're listening to, if what we are thinking about or what we are remembering doesn't take us to that state, then look at something else. Listen to something else. Listen to someone else. Whatever you're thinking about, think about something else. So the happy challenge number 2 is just going to be this. What are you looking at? I want you to think about the things that you're looking at that are not creating the state that you want to be in, the person you want to become. I want you to think about the things that you're listening to, the podcasts, the songs, the movies, the videos. When you find yourself getting riled up, when you find yourself exiting that happy, leaving happy behind because all of a sudden now you're really upset or you're really sad, you're really angry or you're really anxious, then it's good to stop and ask yourself the question, wait a minute, what am I looking at? What am I listening to right now that is causing this state of awfulness, this state of dread, this state of hate or vengeful, this state of hurt? What am I listening to? What am I thinking about right now? And instead of sitting back and saying, I'm not going to think about that anymore, that's next to impossible. Because if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, you're going to think about a pink elephant, right? But instead of trying to not think about that, why don't we just think about something else? So if you're struggling with anxiety, then open up a video on peace and think about peace instead. Don't think about not being anxious. Think about peace. Watch a video. Watch a movie that makes you laugh, that brings you to a state of being happy, not just trying to pursue happy. I know what it's like when that thought gets in your head and just like a jackhammer just keeps pounding away at your head. Well, don't sit there and try to not think about that. Just find a video, find a person, find a podcast, find something, and listen to that instead. For instance, when I'm really struggling with a lot of stuff, sometimes I'll just go golfing. My brain never shuts off. But while I'm golfing, I'm not thinking about those things. I'm thinking about golf, and I gave my brain a break from thinking about all those things because all of a sudden now I'm remembering something else. I'm thinking about something else. So if what you're looking at, if what you're listening to, if what you're thinking about isn't taking you to a state of happy, a state of contentment, a state of peace, a state of beauty, then look at something else, listen to something else or someone else, and think about something else. Don't try to stop looking at that. Don't try to stop listening to that. Don't try to stop thinking about that. Just find something else to look at, something else to listen to, and something else to remember. Look, listen, remember. What are you looking at?